Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cast and Spirit podcast. My name is John, and today we have back on the show Joy Rika from joyrika.com and at SpiroJoy on Instagram. We're going to go do a deep dive about what she's learned in the amazing year that she's had getting started in spearfishing. Joy, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me again, John.
So I want to know, what have you learned after 1 year of this crazy sport?
When I started, it was not even a year ago, and it was learning everything about the sport. So learning what fish I could shoot. Where I think before I started spearfishing, I was mentioning that the only two fish that I knew how to prepare were from the frozen food aisle in the grocery store. There was salmon and barramundi there, so I knew how to make that. And I say once I started to shoot my own fish, it was a huge amount of learning, right? It's like, okay, so from killing the fish, properly dispatching it, gutting it, scaling it, bleeding it, making sure that it's put properly on ice, making sure that I knew what I was going to do, how I was going to prepare it. So learning how to fillet was a new thing that I've learned. Learning how to load my spear gun, like all of these new things. Learning that the behaviors of fish, learning how to enter and exit the water in a safe manner. Definitely done it unsafe a couple of times, and I learned that the hard way. um, Learning how to read conditions, learning how to look at areas in the water and say, well, this area looks better than that area. I think I'm going to go over here. And just all of this is learning from friends, dear fishing friends within the community that have given me one piece of advice or 12 pieces of advice or as much advice as I am able to sit for. And I'm just very grateful for everyone who's helped me along the way here,
Okay,
even with the
so
cooking. Like,
absolutely. Now let's think about it. Let's put somebody in front of you. This person might love fishing. They've seen some Spiro stuff on Instagram or YouTube. They're like, I don't really know if it's for me. I don't even know where to get started. They meet you, and what does Joy proceed to say? Like, what are you going to do to give them the little pep talk and like some tidbits to get them started in the right direction? What would you guide? How would you guide them?
well, I'd say it's just a fascinating other world, right? Once you go underneath the water and getting to see what they do, see how the fish behave and see it firsthand, I think is a really incredible experience. It's a life-changing experience because you're experiencing another world, right? You're experiencing something that is out of the ordinary from your day-to-day life. It's not like there's cars or traffic or desks or paperwork on the end of the ocean. It's reef and fish and sharks, the good sharks, not scary ones, hopefully. And there's just beautiful life interacting, and just being able to witness that firsthand, I think, is the first part of appreciating that whole spearfishing process. Is the first 5 times I went into the water, I didn't shoot my spear gun at all, but just had an appreciation of what was going on down there. And then I knew I would like to shoot one fish so that I can bring it home. And then when I did, it was just okay. I was definitely hooked on that part of the experience. Is that once you get hooked on actual spearfishing, after you appreciate the underwater life, it's a whole another feeling of really being under the water and interacting.
Walk us through your first fish. What was it like when you pulled the trigger? You had to deal with dispatching and the bleeding and all that stuff. Because a lot of people, it's like that's what, like I'll tell it for myself. Like I was like, what am I doing? Holy cow! I'm in the middle of the water and I'm like jamming a knife through a brain of an animal. Like what's going on? And but it after a while it becomes normal and you always have appreciation for the fish. But what was it like for you when you did the first process, start to finish?
Oh my goodness, that is hilarious because I do have actual video footage of that first, or was it first or maybe second first fish, where I get into the water. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go after a perch. It's a surf perch. I shoot the fish and I proceed to try to brain it, but I didn't remember how the person I saw brained the fish. how he did it before. So I just chased the fish around the spear with one hand. So I was holding my spear with the left hand, and I was trying to jab the brain with my right hand, but the fish was just like kind of stuck on the spear itself, and I was like, "Oh, this poor thing," and I didn't know what I was doing, so I was trying to spear to brain it. I eventually did. I kind of pushed it up against the edge of the shaft of the tip, and speared it. I remember I gutted it, and then I started to scale it, and that whole process just I think it was one of the most memorable experiences because I was by myself. I didn't know it was dangerous to go by yourself at that point, um, and I was just there learning and trying to figure it all out, and then later getting some advice of like, "Oh, you hold the gills. Just hold the gills next time, so that you can put pressure on the onto the edge of the shaft, and that's how you bring it." So I got a lot of feedback just because I posted my new videos on all the mistakes that I've made.
That's perfect. And then what have you learned about in regards to preparing it? Like, do you now look at regular food from the store differently? Do you now have like more of appreciation for certain ways to cook a fish or prepare it? Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I discovered that I love yellowtail sashimi. I didn't even know that I had eaten yellowtail before, maybe at a sushi restaurant, but the way that it tastes, it just to me there's a kind of there's a thing. And when I have a piece of fish that I know will taste a certain way, like for example, yellowtail, I love to have raw. For any of the perch that I may still catch, I like to cook it or make like a nice poke sauce. They have each fish that I catch. I think I have a intention of like, oh, I'm going to cook it this way, or I'm going to prepare it that way. If I do find that white when I do find that white sea bass, I'd love to dry age it, and then I'd love to do a little sashimi and a little bit of the pan searing, I think, with and so I've got like ideas of what I'd like to do if I catch it, and then that's kind of the process is also one of my favorite things to do is ask other people how they cook it. Like, hey, do you have any recipes for fish tacos? And oh my gosh, I've had some of the best fish tacos in my life from from my spearfishing buddies who have prepared it for me, and just from obviously all over the world, from Hawaii to the eastern coast of Mexico. There's different ways to prepare these fish tacos, and they're all delicious.
What is your favorite recipe for us to? Is it a beer battered fish? Is it a tempura battered? What is the best fish taco according to Joy?
Oh no, I can't answer that one.
Got to do it. You have to make that
Oh,
decisive decision.
okay. I actually have. There's this. I think it's called like a Louisiana fish fry,
The dry
and
powder rub.
the dry powder rub. Somebody introduced me to that,
I have that. It's epic.
and right. I don't know what about that. That's pretty amazing. Um,
It's a little salty,
I had
but it's
that.
worth. It's still delish.
Right, and then with a little shredded cabbage and with, like, this kind of mayonnaise, lime, chipotle, like, this kinda mix, like, little sauce thing. My friend Eric Aoyama shared it with me, and I got a taste of it, and I was like, "Oh my goodness." And I think it was the fresh guacamole that Ginger made too, that when we put it on there. It could have also been the day of diving, and when you're hungry, it's just, like, amazing, right? So there's all these little things that combine to make that one of the most memorable fish tacos that I've had in my short spearfishing, journey here.
Now, when you go spearfishing, do you usually share some of what you catch? Like if you go down to Baja and you come home with a little bit extra, do you give it away, or do you usually have a big like gathered feast dinner that you cook with for people? How do you do that with your fish?
All of the above, all of the above. When I'm there, I'm always sharing with my buddies, and when I'm back, I love giving fish to my family because I know how much they love like yellowtail collar, or they love just having any kind of raw fish, sashimi style fish, and my friends, and I kind of save them for special occasions. So if I have a buddy coming over after a dive, I'll make sure to if we're not doing if we if I can bring out a piece of frozen fish that I've had from a trip and be like, all right, we're gonna have pokeballs tonight, and we're sharing it, and I love doing that. I love sharing with my friends and my family, and I think that's one of the best things. Actually, I have a intention that I didn't tell you about yet with a big trip that I am planning to Baja. Is recently my father passed away, and what I'd like, my intention is to create a big celebration of life where I'm going to see if I can catch enough fish to serve at this big celebration.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Is that celebration going to be held entirely in Baja, or are you going to go down there, catch enough fish, and bring it back here?
Yeah, the idea is to bring it back. So I'm probably gonna freeze some of it. So I'm already in my mind. I'm like, okay, so with frozen portions, I might make, this dish and that, and what maybe more like the like ceviche style. And then I would love to get a few whole fish to come back so I can do a dry age process. We could do sashimi, sushi, and see what else we can whip up. In Matt's kitchen, I rented out Matt's restaurant for the celebration.
I was about to say, Mr. California is here to help.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm very excited, and I'm um, I'm inviting my all of my dad's friends and family to experience a celebration, really big celebration. And for me, it gives me something to focus on and to work on for the next couple of weeks as I prepare to have the celebration for him.
Well, I'm so glad that spearfishing has become such a big part of your life. And with that, guys, that does it for this episode. You can find Joy at joyrika.com or at SpiroJoy on Instagram. Be sure to reach out to her. And then tomorrow will be our last episode where we're going to talk about the spearfishing community as a whole. Thanks for coming on the episode, Joy. Hey, one more thing before you go. Do you like this podcast? Well, we're trying to keep it ad-free as much as possible. And to do that, we just ask if you could support us. That'd be amazing. Just head over to shop.castandspear.com or consider contributing to our Patreon page. Thanks so much in advance. See you on the next one. Bye.